So we got another episode this week. Cameron here. Noah Lizer this week. He is on vacation in Puerto Rico, so it would just be me this week. Obviously, we got some very sad news over the weekend. NFL legend and Cleveland Browns legend Jim Brown passed away at 87 years old due to natural causes. Absolute travesty when it comes to the NFL community, the activist community as well with the civil rights movement. Overall, just a heartbreaking loss for those communities. Jim Brown was a huge piece for the Browns in that era and a huge piece afterwards when it came to the civil rights movement. Jim Brown ended up having a 8-time all NFL selections. He had 126 career touchdowns, 9 seasons, 9 straight Pro Bowls, and had over 12,000 yards rushing. So he was a absolute beast on the field. He was number 11th in NFL in all-time rushing on that list. Played 9 seasons all with the Browns, like I said, and ultimately won a championship in 1964 with the Browns. It's absolutely heartbreaking if you are a Browns fan or an NFL fan in general who got to experience that or even got to hear about the stories of that, because Jim Brown was one of those guys. Just little tough there for a lot of people. But rest in peace, Jim Brown, and condolences goes to his families and anyone else that might be struggling with his loss. Moving on, though, we are going to continue with the NFL. So NFL did end up posting something about 25 minutes ago. Those look like the NFL has approved, like I said, the extra quarterback roster spot. So in other words, you can have an emergency quarterback now. If you hold 2 quarterbacks on your 53-man roster for NFL Sunday games, you have your active 46. You can have a third emergency quarterback that could suit up for the game and not have to be a part of that 46 roster. So it does give more flexibility. So shout out to the NFL for allowing that to be a thing. Would have been nice last year if you would have had that for the 49ers with the Eagles situation. You could have had an extra quarterback suit up instead of Brock Purdy going down and you not having another guy there just in case. So the NFL did approve that. We're going to go on now to the NBA. And if you look at our last podcast or you listen to our last podcast, we're pretty close on who's going to the finals. Now, we did not expect this. This is recorded on Monday, May 22nd, and we are looking at it ahead. You got Denver and the LA tonight. Lakers versus Nuggets in LA, Game 4. Denver's up 3-0. I mean, I know I predicted them in 5 games, 4-1. I didn't expect this to possibly happen, and it could still be 5-1 or 5 games where it's 4-1. It could be a whole turnaround, but no team in the NBA history has ever come back from a series 3-0. The Cavs did it in 2016 where it was 3-1. That's 3-1, not 3-0. So it does look like at this moment it seems almost inevitable that it might be, or it should be, Denver and the Heat. Nuggets versus Heat is a matchup I know a lot of people don't want, or a lot of people might want. I'm one of those people that want that matchup. I don't want the 17 championships for 17 championships. To me, that's just a little outdated. That's just too many. There's too many stories like that. I don't want to see that. That's my preference. There are people out there that believe I'm wrong in that situation, and that's perfectly fine. There's people that I know personally that want the same matchup I do, and there's some that want the Lakers versus Celtics. But as of this moment, it looks like it's inevitable. It does not look like the Celtics or the Lakers are going to make a comeback. Like I said, no team has come back 3-0 down in a series. And honestly, the only team that might be able to win a game right now is LA. Because after the performance last night the Celtics put up, it was absolutely garbage. They were down over 30 points at one point last night. Also, I do like Jimmy Butler humbling Al Horford. So good for him on that one. Al Horford, if you haven't noticed, Game 1, Al Horford mocked the Heat by saying you might want to call a timeout. And then last night, Jimmy Butler mocks him and says you might want to call a timeout after they call the timeout. Now, Jimmy Butler can do that because he was there as a team. The Heat are winning the series. Jimmy Butler only put up 16 points last night. But when your team is doing what they're doing, you can do whatever you want. You can mock them. You can make fun of them. When you are up 3-0 or up 2-0 and you're consistently winning games and you're up by 30 points in that game 3, you can do whatever you want. I don't care if you scored 10 points. I don't care if you scored 8 points. If you are making an impact on that court like Jimmy Butler does left and right on consistent nights, whether it was defense, whether it was offense, you can do what you want. So going back a little bit, you do have Denver and LA tonight. Lakers are trying to get at least one. I don't think that they're winning tonight. We'll find out on Wednesday because this is going to drop on Wednesday, and by Wednesday they might have another game. But it's all going to come down to that. My prediction of 5 looks very possible still. It could end up in 4. It's hard to sit here and believe that you have a number 1 seed and a number 8 seed who had to play 2 play-in games that could be in the finals matchup and are sweeping their opponents. That is absolutely mind-blowing to me. And people do forget, and I mentioned this a couple weeks ago on one of our podcast episodes. Miami was not bad last year. Miami was the number 1 seed. And when you are the number 1 seed, and the next year you're the number 8 because you have to do 2 play-in games, you lost the first one and won the second one to get in, that's because of injuries. Miami had injuries left and right this year. They were never fully healthy until the end of the season. And by then it was a little late. So Miami is doing their thing. They're picking up right where they were last year. Last year they lost to Boston in 7, and they took that personal, as you can tell by the 3-0 start. They took that personal. Jimmy Butler in the bubble got everything. He put everything on the line for them to win. Everything on the line for them to win. They fell short. That has stuck with Jimmy Butler ever since. And Miami has stuck with that ever since. 3 years go by, and what do you got now? A potential sweep as the number 8 seed to go on to the finals and play Denver. Personally, after Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo not doing what they were doing last night, Bam only put up 13 points. Butler only put up 16. Gabe Vincent, 29 points. Strus only had 10. Martin was over 15 points. For those guys to step up and give Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, some time off from being more aggressive, I don't think Miami's going to lose their next game. I honestly don't. I think the Celtics put all their pressure on their starters and try to run them and try to make a comeback. They're going to be gassed. I think they're going to be gassed. Miami is going to do what they've been doing all series and dominating, but this game might be a Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo dominant game. Or you could see them take a step back. And if they take a step back and the bench does what they've been doing, like I said originally, Miami's bench was better. It was better. It was deeper. It was ready for these moments. And when you look at the difference there, that's the main thing, was the bench was going to be the biggest issue for the Celtics. So when you look at that, Miami might be the only team that sweeps. I do think maybe that the Lakers have a chance to win at least one tonight. But if you're Denver, you want to get this over with as well, because if Miami wins tomorrow and sweeps, you want this to start. And you want it to start early. Because you're well rested. Miami had to play 2 more games. You don't want to give Miami any more rest if you're Denver. And this is going to be a great matchup. Jamal Murray's been doing his thing. Jokic hasn't even done what he normally has to do to win. He hasn't been putting up 30-plus points. He did game one, put up like 23, 24 the last two games. But Jamal Murray's been over 30 points almost every single night. Jamal Murray's been putting that team on his back. Game two, he played every single minute, every single second of that second half. And he took over. And if he can do that, you're going to see Jimmy Butler try to do the same thing. And honestly, Jimmy Butler can do the same thing. There's no discrediting Jimmy Butler's talent. So to see where this could potentially lead up is a finals matchup of a number 1 seed, Denver Nuggets, and a number 8 seed who had to go through 2 play-in games and dealt with injuries all year in the Miami Heat, who could potentially, both of them are going to sweep. Now that's a story I want to see in the finals. That's just my opinion. Let me see. I want to see what you guys want in the matchup. I want to see what you guys want. Again, it does seem at this point like it's set. But would you have rather seen the Lakers and Celtics? And give me a reason why. Because that 17-17 championship storyline, not a thing for me. I'm not a big fan of that. It would have been cool if you still had, the teams that were dominant. These teams have not been dominant. They have been good. But there's not a time that goes by when you think, like, I would have rather seen this happen when Kobe and Shaq were still playing on the Lakers, and Rondo and Garnett and Pierce and Ray Allen were playing on the Celtics. That's a matchup I would have liked to see for number 18. But it's not what we're going to get. You're going to get the new era. And everyone was saying yesterday, Tatum's a fraud. Tatum's a fraud. Tatum struggled yesterday. I've seen it all over social media that Tatum's a fraud. He struggled yesterday. Yes, he did. But he's been putting up 30-plus points the last 2 games. So I don't know how much more you can expect out of Tatum. I do think that the Celtics are going to let go of Jaylen Brown after the season. I do think that's the case. They need to figure out what they're going to do. I think you let Brown go. You take that money, that salary, and then you go invest into your bench, because that is your biggest weakness right now. That is your biggest weakness right now. You're going to hear this on Wednesday. Like I said, these are recorded on Monday. I believe that the Lakers might win tonight. It's their best chance. I honestly think that could be the thing. I think that could be the thing that keeps at least the storyline going. I don't feel as confident in it. I do think if I had to put a percentage on it, I'd say 51-49 that the Lakers win tonight. But it's all going to come down to how LeBron plays. If LeBron does not come out the gate, the Nuggets are winning. LeBron has to, unfortunately, at his age, he's going to have to go back to the 2016, averaging 40 points a game. I don't think that far, but if he can put up maybe 30 points, they got a shot. Because he hasn't put up over 25, he hasn't put over 26, 27 points since game 1. And you can't have that. You can't have that. If you're the Lakers, you need him to step up. And I'm not saying that he's been playing completely bad. For his age, to put up over 20 points averaging and the assists and rebounds he's putting up, that's great. But he's got to do more point-wise. He's got to score more. We're going to move on to from NBA to MLB. Like we did last month. We have an overperforming team and we have an underperforming team from both conferences. And looking at this, we're going to do this month by month and how they can turn it around or how well they've been doing. We will not have an episode next week because I will be on vacation and my neighbor will also still be on vacation. So that would be Eliza. So with us both being gone, we will not have an episode. So enjoy your Memorial Days. Thank you to everyone who has served, has fought, and has sacrificed, paying the ultimate sacrifice for us to have what we have here in the United States of America. But we are going to go on right now with the MLB. For the American League, The underperformer this week, or this month, for me, is Cleveland. The Cleveland Indians for me. Multiple blown games. They just had a 3-game series. Multiple games they blew. A 3-game series against the Mets. They went to extras in the first, blew it. They went on the second game. They played a doubleheader Sunday due to a rain out on Saturday. Jose Ramirez is doing what he does best, putting that team on his back. And he had a 2-run homer in the top of the 8th. And then your bullpen gives up a 2-run shot to Starling Marte, whose last 22, 23 hits were all singles. Bullpen's been blowing it for Cleveland. And they're not doing the best, and they're not doing the worst either. When it comes to pitching, they're 9th. A lot of that has to do with their starters, though. Their starters have been dealing. Cal Quantrill had a rough start to the year, and he's turned it around. And a lot of rookies have come up, and they've done what they needed to do to keep this team moving. But when it comes to hitting, they're 26. If you don't have Jose Ramirez, Steven Kwan, and Naylor hitting for you right now, you're not winning games. That bullpen's got to be better as well. That's what a little bit tough about this, because they're 26 in hitting, but they're 9th in pitching, and that's a skewed number because of their starting rotation. There are a couple guys in the bullpen that have been locked down, but man, have they been? There are multiple that have blown it, and Emmanuel Clase does not look like the closer he was last year. It's a weird year when you have Edwin Diaz out for almost the entire year, if not the entire year. If they make it to the postseason, maybe he comes back, but I doubt it. And then you have a team like Cleveland who had one of the second best closer. Honestly, I thought the best closer last year in the American League. And Diaz was the best closer in the National League. They haven't been doing what they need to do. It's almost like they disappeared. They have lost 3 straight, all to the Mets. What looked like a turnaround a couple weeks ago now turned into utter disappointment. They're minus 34 in run differential as well. Now moving on to what I believe has been the best team in the American League. It's kind of a toss-up with these two. I've been leaning Yankees because with Judge being out, I was like, man, he came back. That team turned around. They've been good. They've been really good. They've won 4 straight. But unfortunately, I got to give it to the Houston Astros this month. Houston has won 7 straight, and they just got Altuve back. Think about that. Altuve has been that piece for them. They struggled early. They were doing iffy at the beginning. They've been staying around 500. They went from 4th place to now 27-19 in this tough division of the AL West. Who would have thought that? Who would have thought that? I mean, Houston is on a winning streak. They're bouncing back. And, for me, Houston's the team. If you look at where Houston's at in the pack, they're number 1 in pitching and 15th in hitting. So they're middle in the pack in hitting, but their pitching's phenomenal. And now you get Altuve back, who's kind of like their firecracker. Kind of gets it going for them. Kind of is the gel that holds it together. So for me this month, I have to give it to the Houston Astros. They've just been playing phenomenal baseball without their quote unquote their franchise guy. Their franchise guy has just come back about a day or two ago, and they've won 7 straight. It's tough to see that, in baseball nowadays to have that huge winning streak. I mean, Tampa Bay did it earlier this year, and if I got to be honest, an honorable mention has to go out. It was a tough call. There's 3 that technically could have been in here. Could have been the Yankees. Could have been the Astros, which I'm going with the Astros. And it could have been the Texas Rangers. I mean, when you look at what the Texas Rangers have been doing, it is unbelievable. The Rangers have won 11 of their last 15 games. They have scored double-digit runs 12 times, the most in MLB so far, and have led MLB with 297 runs scored and 6.5 runs per game. Oh, and they dominated Tampa Bay this weekend. So you could have done any of those. Texas has not, to me, they have been overperforming or overachieving. But for what the Rangers have versus what the Astros have had, I have to give this to the Astros this month. That's just my opinion on it, and that's what I'm going to stick with. Now going to the NL side of this. The New York Mets have bounced back. They're going to be my overachieving for the NL. They just took 3 from Cleveland. While they were down 2 of those games, they bounced back and took the lead, and their bullpen shut it down. So the Mets, to me, are the overachieving team for the NL. And if you look at where they're at with this, they are currently sitting... Where are they at here? Wow, I cannot find them right now. They are currently 16th in batting. And when it comes to pitching, they're 24th. So 16th in batting and 24th in pitching. And they have won 5 straight. Their pitching starting to come together. They have been missing Verlander. Scherzer got suspended for those games. Now they're both back. They look like they're going to be bouncing back. Verlander struggled his last two out of his last 3 outings. But now he's bounced back after this game, in my opinion. After missing the beginning of the season, watch out for the Mets pitching. They're 24th right now. It would not surprise me if they're above 15th by the end of next month, when we do this all over again. So they're my overachieving for this month. Underachieving for me is the Padres. In a tough NL West division, you expected the Padres and Dodgers to be lock and lock. You expected them to be there. And they're not far off. I mean, they are in baseball terms with 7.5 game difference. But the Giants have overtaken you. And the Diamondbacks, nobody thought the Diamondbacks would be there. The Diamondbacks are playing fantastic baseball. They were another team I was considering for overachieving along with the Cardinals. We put the Cardinals for underachieving last month. They could have well been overachieving. Nolan Arenado's been red hot. And the Diamondbacks just continue to find ways to win. But underachieving is, for me, this month is the Padres. 2-8 in your last 10 games. They did win last night. But you're 2-8. 2-8 in your last 10. You were expected to be there with the Dodgers. You're not there with the Dodgers. You traded for Soto last year. His contract's up after this year. And now you're in talks of maybe being in the Shohei Ohtani trade or Shohei Ohtani sweepstakes next year. You got to figure out something. Whether it's trading some big star. I know you signed Bogarts. You might want to try to find a way to trade somebody. I don't know who that's going to be. Maybe it's Trent Grisham. I don't know who would really want Soto on a half-a-year deal. Or a 3/4 of a way deal left on the year. You signed Bogarts long-term. He ain't going anywhere. You just signed him. And you just signed Manny Machado again. And I believe Manny Machado has a no-trade clause in his contract, so he ain't going nowhere. Best thing you can do right now is maybe try to trade for some starting pitching. But the question is, you might have to consider, and I doubt the Padres are going to want to do this, but you might have to if you want to start winning games. You got too many big names on that team that aren't performing. Tatis might be one of those guys that you have to consider. And I'm not saying like, oh yeah, trade him. But you might have to take a hard look. If you can get rid of Tatis and maybe a couple prospects and get you a bullpen piece that's a dominant bullpen piece, maybe get a dominant starting pitcher. You know, Cleveland might be looking to get rid of Shane Bieber. Maybe you go try to train Shane Bieber. Get Shane Bieber from Cleveland. They're not going to take Tatis. So they might take Tatis, but not for that contract. Especially when they have Rosario, a lot of shortstop prospects, and Jimenez. But you might have to work away with a 3-team trade. Cleveland and the Padres have done it before. That's how Cleveland got all their prospects. That's how Cincinnati ended up with Trevor Bauer. And that's how the Padres got a couple prospects out of it. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Padres do. But for a 2-8 in your last 10, something's got to change. Looking at where they're at when it comes to pitching, they're currently 10th. Not bad. But there are some starters on there that have been struggling. And their bullpen has been a little up and down from time to time. But like I said, you have big-name guys who are not performing when it comes to offense. Soto's not hitting well. He's barely hitting 225, I believe, at the moment. If I look that up right now, I guarantee he is not hitting 225. Juan Soto currently. Let's see where we're at with this. Okay, I was wrong. He is currently batting 248, and it's about time he got up there. But after the month that, I looked a week ago, Soto was at 191. Glad he's finally hitting. But there are other people on that team that are not hitting right now. And you need to figure it out because you're paying way too much money for that ball club to be 30th in hitting when most of your money goes towards Manny Machado, Tatis, Soto, and Xander Bogaerts. Too much money is invested in that team. So they got to figure it out. They have to figure it out. So the Padres are my underachieving this week. It'll be interesting to see. But this MLB season is absolutely crazy so far. Runs have been up like crazy, which is hurting a lot of pitchers. But you're seeing teams that are supposed to be up there in the top tier all the way at the bottom of the list. It's baffling to me. But we're going to go ahead and end the podcast there. It's going to be another week from now. We won't. Next week we will not have a podcast episode. So enjoy your Memorial Day. Enjoy your long weekend if you get one. Thank you for your service, people that have had the ultimate sacrifice or have somebody in their family that has had an ultimate sacrifice. Thank you to your family. Thank you for your service. Enjoy your long weekend. And we will see you in 2 weeks when me and Eliza will be back from vacation. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. I'm going to drop the link right now. You have both of our personal up there and inside the stadium as well. If you follow us on there, we drop our episode weekly every Wednesday, except for next week, like I already stated. But other than that, you guys have a good one, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Take care.